So hey, it's Saturday night. Hello, welcome. Thank you for spending this time with me. We're going to be finishing out our Ravnica themed campaign tonight. And I wanted to do so by delving a little bit into villains. And then we will do a by the book, quite literally, a by the book campaign thought experiment to make this Ravnican this Ravnican campaign. And then, you know what we can do? When the official book comes out in November, we can not only take a week to review it, but we can also revisit this campaign and see if there is some kind of a twist we can put on it with the contents that are going to be in that book. D&D time, thank you very much for that host. Okay. So, besides my casual eating of chips and salsa, I think we should get into it. Yesterday, we made some NPCs that started with a seed idea, and they really grew into their own using the DMG method. I really can't talk enough about the benefits that this book has if you are intending to run D&D. So, this is the part we're going to be looking at, right by my noggin here. Chapter 4, and we're going to go to Villains on page 94. And what I would like to do, we have an overarching idea of what's happening in the story as we've created it step by step, right? You start very simply. We started with a basic character creation exercise, and from there we made a second character. And now that we have these 2 points of reference in the world, we have built an entire section of Ravnica around them. And not just to cater to them, but they are the products of this environment, and they also exist in the environment as a part of the very same ecosystem that spawned them into our concept of reality or knowledge. Alright, so we don't really have a villain, per se. There are two concepts that come to mind for a villain. There is whatever this overarching Orzhov pontificate is. And we also have this evil Vidalcan cleric of an Izzet Boiler Works. That could be a villain that needs to be put down also. So, by their actions, villains provide job security for heroes. Chapter 3 helps you determine suitable villains for your adventures. Well, this section helps you flesh out their evil schemes, methods, and weaknesses. Actually, you know what? Let me jump back and see if there is anything else that we can include. I think I just might mention it in the course of creating an adventure that you need a villain of some kind. Yeah, here we are. Adventure villains. Nope. So, actually, why don't we start with this in Chapter 3 first? Adventure villain. Let's roll a d20 and find out. Nine. A humanoid cultist. Well, what is the Orzhov Syndicate but that? Okay. Although, because it's cultist, that could open up the possibility. What if it's someone who has been, that's within the Orzhov faction, and that has somehow been converted, or their brain has been taken over by someone of the Rakdos cult? Hmm? Or otherwise, maybe he or she is a part of some extreme belief or faith in Orzhov, and is actually willing to do this cruel eviction spell in order to just wipe everyone out, right? Tabula rasa, you wipe the slate clean. Okay, now let's go back down here. Let's roll a d8, and then inside that, let's get their objective and their scheme to achieve it. A d8 first. 3. Magic. And within that is a d6. 3. Carry out a deity's wishes. Orzhov. Or, if he is a Rakdos cultist, and he views the demon Rakdos as a deity, then from his position inside the Orzhov Syndicate, he is going to be carrying out Rakdos's wishes. A red-black cultist inside a black-white organization. Interesting. Okay. We're going to roll a d20, and we are going to figure out his methods. Nine. Hey! Impersonation or disguise. Ha! So maybe the actual head of the Orzhov might have been, like, killed and replaced by this Rakdos cult leader. Heck. What if somehow... Well, I don't know if it'd be too convoluted or stereotypical, but you know how we have that Working Joe NPC that our PCs talk to get the word on the street, from our from the laborers and such. What if the cultist leading is actually that Working Joe, or what if the Working Joe has been sent by the leader to try and manipulate these influencers, these important people on the block, to try and guide their actions, and because, this could make the villain actually maybe not so villainous. He's trying to bring down the Orzhovs, who are crushing people with debt. And so he wants to spur these anti-heroes to action in order to have them bring down the Orzhovs, so that the debt is actually erased. Okay. A weakness. D8. 6. An ancient prophecy or riddle reveals how the villain can be overthrown. An ancient prophecy or riddle. I wonder if that could be the secret that our PC's mentor ghost carries and is kept behind a lock and key. Because even though our anti-heroes might be sympathetic to what the Rakdos are trying to do, it won't have the same effect if they don't have the belief that it is the Orzhovs. And so maybe this dead mentor caught on to what was happening. And in so doing, either, someone might have suicided her, right? If you get what I'm saying, it could have been a politically motivated killing. Because we talked about her being under some kind of a silence curse. She can't talk about this stuff, but she can provide hints and puzzles and riddles that indirectly can lead the PCs to this information. Okay, so the D8 roll was 6, making this an ancient prophecy or riddle. Reveals how the villain can be overthrown. Perhaps contained by the mentor's bauble. There we go. So actually, let's go up now, and we've added a villain theme, but we can also go back and add some NPC statistics here, if not outright make the character. But there's at least 2 different villains that I would like to explore, and so let's make them as people first and worry about their stats and stuff later. Okay. Secretly, a high-ranking Rakdos cultist who has taken the form of the now former Orzhov Pontiff. appearance. D20. 15. An unusual hair color. Well, I don't know what race he is yet, or she. I guess we haven't determined one way or the other. Actually, if we bring up this list here. Human, cleric. Humans are definitely in, or I think humans are in everything. Thralls, humans. A spirit. Gargoyle. Spirit. Human advisor for Teysa. Thralls. Humans. Oh, there's an angel. Angel of Despair. Spirits. Huh, a bat. Okay. So probably an unusual hair color for a human. Maybe, maybe that's how he got the job. Some kind of miracle occurred where he was praying in the light of a stained glass window in one of the shrines that Orzhov has all around. And it struck his hair. And since that point in time, his hair has been that unusual color. And that shows that he's been blessed by these spirits. Or even, his hair just might be an array of colors, like a stained glass window. There we go. Abilities. High is going to be a D6, yes. 2. Dexterity, and his low is 4 intelligence. His talent is 1. He plays a musical instrument. What would be a good musical instrument for someone who is in the upper echelons of a faith or a bank or both to play? Some sort of grand pipe organ, something more personal and portable. Maybe, oh no, sings beautifully as its own. I was gonna say plays a musical instrument. And we can even make up an instrument, too. Actually, maybe that's a reveal. Maybe that's something that we can put in as a clue. Maybe he actually plays because he has been replaced. Like the real one has been replaced with someone from the Rakdos cult. Maybe he actually knows how to play a commoner's instrument, like a mouth harp or a fiddle, maybe an accordion. Something that just doesn't seem like a normal pontiff would play. His mannerisms are as such. 2. Speaks in rhyme or some other peculiar way. Huh. I had a Vampire the Masquerade character that did that. I had him speak in rhyme, like in couplets. So, I got a notebook, and I listed a lot of the common terms that could come up in the course of a World of Darkness or particularly a Vampire the Masquerade adventure. And so I wrote those words down along with other words that could rhyme with it. And then I would reference my notebook. So if my character ever spoke, I could very easily come up with rhymes on the fly. He was a fun character to play, too. What else could be a peculiar way? Well, you know what? If any of you watch the Tuesday game, we gave our, as a bit of a signal, there's this invading Empire force. And they do speak common. However, they speak it with that kind of royal lisp. Where the you know the words that they're saying, but it comes out with a bit of a lisp on it. With, like L's and R's pronounced like W's. And that could be an interesting way also to make a signature. If you don't like doing an accent, you can do something along those lines to make the villain stand out or identifiable, because you change the tone of your voice. Maybe he only talks in a high-pitched voice, almost like he's ready to sing at a given time. Maybe he speaks very low. Or maybe he does rhyme. Or he does have the dwall. His whips don't pronounce the words very correctly. Oh yeah. Derek, you did a good job with that too. Man, my heart was fluttering when you picked up on that. And when you incorporated that cue, that signal in how Imperials talk, when you incorporated that into your disguise, I was absolutely giddy and joyous. Oh, thank you for that memory. Derek, what you did, you did just that. Your DM provided flavor to the world, provided maybe some sort of hint or clue or roleplay prompt. You picked it up, and you ran with it, brother. And you did an excellent job. Interaction with others, 12. On a D12, he's honest. It's just no one's asked him, right? Or he's honest, but maybe with half-truths. For instance, he'll tell you, I'm going to collect on an old debt that's owed. Because that's what the Orzhov Pontiff definitely is doing, right? However, the debt isn't, well, it's to the Orzhovs, but that has been now subsumed by the Rakdos, who are definitely going to deliver a debtor's knell. Actually, that's a card, if I recall correctly. It is, aha. At the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature in a graveyard into play under your control. Debtor's Knell. Well, so they're going to get some payback as the Rakdos from the Orzhovs for oppressing the common folk. You know what this villain's gonna do also? Especially with our Boros Wojak. He used to be in the Rakdos cult. That's the gang he ran with. And in fact, that's probably the thing that he forgot that he remembers. Is he could have information on this kind of a scheme. Maybe he overheard it from his bosses one day, but he never really paid attention. He still has it on his brain rattling around somewhere, but he doesn't realize how relevant that conversation was. What useful knowledge would he have? Well, the plans of the Rakdos and what they intend to do with the block once it is cleared and free. As well, she or he has intimate / incriminating knowledge about others based on the time spent infiltrating this pontiff's role. That could be a life insurance policy for him too, by the way. Don't forget that. You think a villain wouldn't be beyond blackmailing his way out of a party coming in and looking to kick down the door and put a sword through his throat? Ideal. I'm going to roll 2d6. 5 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Neutrality. Ooh, this is what our Wojak was taught also. What if our Wojak might have been an understudy from this Rakdos gang leader, who then, after they broke off, they went down separate paths. One went to infiltrate the Orzhovs from the inside, and the other one went to join the police. But maybe he's doing this to balance everything, to wipe the books, to bring peace finally. And he's willing to, tear down everything in order to have that happen. Okay, his bond is 10, is a D10. 3. He's protective of colleagues or compatriots. Which could mean that he would try and wiggle out of having justice brought to him, right? Maybe, in fact, because he does want to manipulate our two anti-hero ladies, our lady adventurers here, maybe he can point to times where their safety was bought by Orzhov coin, and specifically at his order, because he wanted to use them. He wanted them on the board at his, where he wanted them to be. He was protecting them because they were valuable. And in fact, maybe he even was going to get ready. Maybe everyone who received the eviction notice was a part of the Rakdos Guild. Whether they're demon-worshipping cultists or just your average blue-collar working Joe. Maybe he was going to get them out. And then anyone who was left behind that wasn't a part of the Rakdos clan still would have been evicted with their big spell, leaving then an entire block open for Rakdos to move in and have a place to live and eat and work and make their own shops. And it would become a new central hub of Rakdos activity. And a D12, lastly. 8. Ooh. A specific phobia. Well, alright, I'll throw this out to you all. Memory, Derek, any of you else out there. Here we have someone who is a part of this demon-worshipping cult of Rakdos. He worked his way up. He probably murdered and took the form of an Orzhov pontiff. And is willing to bring ruin to an entire undercity block of Ravnica in order to, wipe the slate clean, to make a strike at the Orzhovs, to improve the position of the Rakdos. And so we have a bold person. We have even a thoughtful person. Intelligence isn't his high point, but that may not be necessary. What would someone like this have a fear of? If we're looking at a specific phobia, and we want it to be compelling, like not just lol random like clowns. I guess clowns could be something, but it probably wouldn't be a claustrophobia because he lives in the Undercity and such, or maybe even an agoraphobia. He seems like a good fall guy for the Dimir. Yeah, so maybe the Dimir have been like layers upon layers, just like how Ravnica is built. He might be striking against Orzhov in the name and under the guise of Rakdos, but really the Dimir have been influencing him. If that's the case, would he have a fear of I don't know, the Dimir live in darkness and shadow and sewers and water. I don't know if he'd really have a fear of death, given the fact that, the position he's taken. So specific phobia. Fear of being manipulated. I guess it's more like an anxiety disorder. Let's take a look here. He probably knows he's not a smart person, but he might have got lucky and found a niche. And so maybe he's scared that he doesn't know enough to understand if he is being manipulated. The fear of being controlled can be a barrier to loving. People who fear being controlled are often stingy with his emotions because he fears being openly loving makes him vulnerable to being controlled. I guess this is more of a relationship advice. There are people whose major barrier to loving is his fear of being controlled. She is so afraid of being controlled by another that she seeks to make herself less valuable by controlling her emotions. He is intellectualized and seeks to separate thought from feeling to gain greater control over his mind and body. These character traits all serve the purpose of achieving control over oneself and the environment in order to avoid overcoming... Hey, yeah, you want control over yourself? Well, you've assumed someone else's form and responsibilities. Maybe you feel a bit over your head. Taking control of your environment. If I make everyone go away, I don't have to keep doing this. This is very stressful. Children are totally dependent on adults, and she is therefore vulnerable to being made insecure. Too rigid demands for the child to control his behavior instills in the child a fear of being controlled. Toilet training is one focus, where the child's desire to eliminate her stools when and where she wishes comes into conflict with parental expectations. Okay, so outside pressures, cultural and or religious institutions like marriage. And you know what? This is stuff that affects people on a very fundamental level. Okay. So here we have one of our villains. In fact, this is the main villain, at least the main overt villain that is going to be presented over the course of the campaign. Derek, you were onto something, man. You don't need to apologize. I think that here you have something. He might not be smart. He got in over his head, and here like he has this plan. He's following through, and he has this paranoia, this anxiety of being controlled, which he probably is, and not by forces that he could ever suspect. I mean, you're having a side conversation over here with Memory Lapse about the differences between horror and terror and whatnot. We're getting those nuances here too. I think you're doing an excellent job with your commentary. All right, so let's take this and make a fresh page and go through the process one more time. And now what we're going to do is we are going to use a little bit of knowledge that we have about the maker of this boiler work dungeon. Because this person seems rather sadistic. He or she created this dungeon as a death trap purposely to test people. Doesn't care if they die. Does care if they live, because that would make them an excellent test subject for whatever phase 2 would be. So let's go back up to chapter 3. I think I went too far. I dug too deep. Goals. Other goals. Adventure patrons. Yeah, adventure villains. Here we go. D20. 12. A humanoid conqueror. Okay. Well, I mean, Vidalkins are humanoid. So, humanoid conqueror. How does this flavor what we know about this, the little bit we know about this NPC? Wants to conquer, wants to take over, maybe wants to prove that he or she is the master of the elements, or specifically fire. Even wants to take over the same block. And so has been infiltrating it with the steam and the vents and the creatures that are bred or summoned inside of it, as it has this connection to the elemental fire of the plane of fire. So the conqueror portion is what we can focus on as we build this character one step at a time. All right, objective or scheme. D8 first. A 7. Revenge. And within revenge, we're going to roll a D4. 3. Avenge the death of a loved one. Ooh. That can create a whole other interesting side or backstory. Now, so it's kind of similar to Mr. Freeze in the Batman world, right? Although he's using steam and fire instead of extreme cold. Cheese it up, welcome. Well, hey, if you miss them, if you're doing something you enjoy, or if you're working to pay your bills, or you're out with friends, cheese it up. You're perfectly fine. I'm glad that you're here now with us, and I really hope that you're enjoying what you're hearing and seeing. And you can always contribute to the conversation. But if you want to kick back and relax and enjoy your Saturday evening, you're welcome to do that too. Does he keep his wife in a lava pit? Maybe. In fact, what if his wife is he's finding a way to either preserve her, or if he can't, what if all of the fire elementals that are summoned into this dungeon have the face of his lover or her lover, Again, I don't think we really tacked down those details, right? And so you enter the dungeon, and I don't know where this would fall on your scale, Derek. You know, you imagine a fire elemental, or in this case, you know, here's a... Where'd you go? So here's a wind elemental, right? So just imagine that this is all red and fiery. And yet, instead of being almost like an amorphous, vaguely humanoid shape, what if the salamanders, what if the magmins and the mephits all had a very similar face? Even if they didn't really seem to know that they had a face. You as an adventurer going through this dungeon, seeing these extra planar creatures all sharing effectively the same face or the same physical features. You know, be they the muscular structure of this lover, or the curves, or whatever. That definitely give me some tingles. Like I'd wonder what is going on in here. Why are all these fire elementals kind of shaped the same way? I'll fire Esmeralda in Hellfire from Hunchback of Notre Dame. I haven't watched that one, Dark Wolf, so unfortunately that reference goes over my head. And you know, Memory, based on that, because Tolkien, he served in the military. He went through World War I. He completely understood shell shock, which we now call PTSD, and he saw the horrors of war and how soldiers could come back to a nation that was grateful for their service and is willing to, you know, pay them stipends and medical and whatever, you know, and they might even come back to a family, you know, kids and parents or cousins or whatever. And they're just not the same person after going through an experience like that. You'll find me a pic? Okay, thank you, Dark Wolf. Alright, what is his methodology? Let's roll a d20 and find out. 18. Torture. Oh, almost like making a death trap. This is why we trust ourselves to the dice, everyone. Torture, and specifically, we're rolling a d6. Whoops, that's 2d6. Well, the first one is a 2, so that's blinding. Fire can certainly do that. Yes, it can. I'm not even just talking about a hot poker to the eye and stirring it around. You know, the fire or even the heat makes you close your eyes and go like that. All right, so I'm floating a d6 if another one comes up somewhere. And the villain's weakness is a d8. 4. A special weapon deals extra damage when used against the villain. He wrote his story, but in a high fantasy setting. Yeah, he incorporated a lot of Nordic mythology, and yeah, he. Because look, if you look at the map of Middle Earth, or just the treks, and you follow, you know, the theater in which World War I was fought, there are similarities, and for very specific reasons. Cheese It Up says, "Will likely be lurking, but I'd love to stick around more often. Your stories and thoughts on the game have been very influential on me, and I'm hoping to absorb some more ideas and help me run my game better." Well, Cheese It Up, if I can help you, I would love to do so. If I can provide the inspiration, but hey, you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 tonight, because Memory Lapse and Macabre Derek are having an excellent conversation over on the side. And don't forget also, Cheese It Up, are you on our Discord? If not, here. There's another excellent conversation that's been going on regarding dragons, their ecosystem, their culture, etc. that's going on right now in our Discord. And it looks like maybe it's spilled over into Project Workshop. Oh, actually, and here's a fourth one. As a DM, and you're in a moral conundrum about handing out experience points. There's a lot of wisdom going on in here, and I'm only a small portion of it. At least I hope I'm wise. I don't know. Maybe I'm just very charismatic, but I don't have too many marbles rolling around upstairs. I guess that's for you to judge. I would hope that it's worth it, Cheese, but look, if it's not for you, I won't get offended if you leave, right? If it's not providing you the content you're looking for, you're not obligated to stay in this Discord. But you will get a lot of really fun emotes to use. I'm bribing you. Hey, Bobicus, never hand out any experience. It makes your PCs dependent. Well, if you wanna enter into that arena, I do not use experience points as a DM. I use milestones, and so I am politely refraining from entering that conversation because it's not something that I have a lot of experience working with as a DM. Hey, well, cheese it up. I'm bribing you. There's plenty of fun emotes you can use. But look, if you think that what we do here, when in the short hours that we broadcast over the course of a week, makes sense, if you like it, I really hope that you'll enjoy the Discord. It's safe for work, PG-13, so you don't have to. I mean, don't get in trouble at work or whatever. But you could open it up at work or around family. And there shouldn't be anything that's, super risque or, a bunch of F-bombs dropped or anything like that. Hi, Zan. And, Dark Wolf, that is a good gif of it. GIF. It's two different warring factions. You have these fire elementals that act like fire elementals. They're savage. They consume. They do what a normal fire elemental would. But they all look like this dungeon creator's lost loved one. Bobicus pronounces it as Zafe. Zafe. Very, very breathy, Zafe. Alright, so here are the particular villainous details that we are going to tack on top of our NPC outline, which is built on a foundation of here's the basic thought behind this villain that the PCs are going to encounter. Jafe. Oh, mais oui, c'est Jafe. That's what I'm doing. I say Jeff. No! Say Jeff. It is the C with the upside down comma. AST. Say Jeff. Say Jeff. It is what I said. With my outrageous French accent. I think it's about here that Larry the Cable Guy would say, Lord, I apologize. Please feed the pygmies down in New Guinea. Before looking in the camera and being, that's funny, I don't care who you are. Alright, now, aside from just being a last boss of the dungeon, who is this person? How is he influential? Besides a key item that our PCs can harvest from his corpse, or, his office, or whatever, let's make him into a person. Because when this person is dealt with, maybe lethally, maybe not lethally, The spider web in the center of which he sits can then be explored, and connections can be made where webs cross of different styles. Memory says, I use experience, and on the flip side of the coin, you'll always notice the PCs trying to rush through the game, exploring areas quicker than they normally would, trying to get to the milestone faster just to level up. Even if you withhold the milestone until you feel the time is right, they will skip areas just to get to it. Because whether you like to admit it or not, in your plans, you know when the milestone is achieved. I don't really mind Dark Wolf. I don't know. To me, like, Aladdin, Lion King was the peak. I don't mind Pixar, but I've grown kind of jaded against, against the company as a whole with these ceaseless acquisitions, and the fact that it's blatantly, look, it's a business. I have my master's degree in this stuff. I completely understand this. But to put on such a a happy face and then to just completely look, when a company tries to copyright Dia de los Muertos so they can monetize a cultural holiday, something might not be right. Can they make it right in the future? Oh yeah, I have other things to do than to hold irrational hatreds for all of my life. But I mean, there's a point where you say, I get it, but no thank you. I am not familiar with Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which means that Sweet D is a Disney princess, so I don't know who that character is. Though following your logic chain, Bobicus, it would seem to make sense. So therefore, Princess Leia is a Disney princess. But the challenge has been made. Bobicus has thrown down the gauntlet, and any of you can step up and prove him wrong. Occupation and history. Head researcher of weirds under the local, is it, I don't know, like, laboratory. All right, so the appearance of this Vidalkin, who I think we styled after this character here, the chief engineer, right? Someone who's overlooking all the things that are happening down below and the assemblies and the plans. Let's see what it'll be. With a simple roll of the D20. Three. Flamboyant or outlandish clothes. Ooh. Ooh. So maybe he's wearing clothes kind of like what you see in has the Mockingjay. It's the post-apocalyptic, you make a bunch of poor people fight each other kind of story. Hunger Games. You know how they're going down the whatever the main road in the big city, and their clothes look like they're on fire, and maybe he even wears you know, he has blue skin normally. So maybe he tries wearing red makeup, like eyeliner or eyeshadow or things, in order to liven himself up, to look like he's on fire or is simulating fire or can control fire. Memory, if you've encountered players like that, I'm sorry. Milestones, to me, milestones aren't something that can just be, you know, a PC walks into a room and fondles everything that they can pick up with their strength score, expecting progress and clues, because clues are effectively experience points that lead to a milestone. To me, milestones are based on broader concepts. And so they can't be reached by simply interacting with things. There has to be meaningful dialogue. There has to be a resolution to things. At least before I would award a milestone. Yes, Babacus. In that case, the problem is the player, not the mechanics. Error. There is an error with the end user. Please replace at your earliest convenience. Error. The end user has been determined to be faulty. Error. Abilities. We have a high and a low. So that's 2d6. So we're floating a d6 from before. I'm going to be fair about it. We're floating... Was it a 5? Yeah, I guess we're... No, it was a 4. And I'm going to roll one more d6, and then we'll be caught up. Four and a 6. So its intelligence is high, charisma is low. Yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it, Dark Wolf? And what a wonderful, a very faint and fearful voice it is, Dark Wolf. Talent. Villains Got Talent. VGT. The new show that's sweeping the kingdom. D20. 18. A skilled actor and master of disguise. Ooh. He has a low charisma. He has a high intelligence. A master of disguise doesn't have to be charismatic, but can have cantrips and other spells to help out. That means that he could probably infiltrate the dungeon also, and prompt people going through it forward in various ways. Could almost be a... Try not to spoil anything here. But there is a Resident Evil game that came out before Resident Evil 4 and afterwards, where you had a person who could be described as a high int, low charisma, skilled actor, and master of disguise. I won't spoil anything, but if you know what I'm talking about, then wink and a nudge. That fiend. His or her mannerisms are a d20 roll also. 8. Uses flowery speech or long words. You're going to run Apocalypse World in September. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You heard it here, folks. Make sure you pile on Ivalon to send an invite to you. And the way that he interacts with others, D12. 11. Which is quiet. Seems to be more of a... Or maybe he himself is quiet, unless he's wearing a disguise. What if he dresses as his dead lover? And what if she or he, as the villain, tries to talk through this lover's voice? Wears a wig and makeup. Appears to be similar. Boy, both our villains have apparently killed and replaced the form of other people in some form or fashion. Interesting, huh? And you thought that happened a lot in Eberron with changelings and shifters and Warforged that can change their shells and their and whatnots. Useful knowledge. So this is going to be more like a mid-boss in the campaign, I'm thinking. Because of that, this villain should have useful knowledge that could lead to the resolution of the campaign, which is to raise money to either get the debt called off somehow. It could even be by killing the Orzhov Pontiff, or could be by raising enough money to pay off the debt, or he could actually have some inside knowledge on what's been going on, because maybe some Izzet engineers overheard a thing or two when they were fixing the heater in the chapel. Maybe one of the Izzet engineers overheard the struggle that night as the original pontiff was murdered and his form was taken by this Rakdos cultist. Something like dialogue, combat, etc. doesn't give a hint towards a milestone, then they will abandon ship. Okay. I think I understand you a little bit better now, Memory. Ivalon, I think you'd have fun in Apocalypse World. Well, Ivalon, can she play a psychotic cyborg maid in Apocalypse World? This is really, like, this is the burning question that we need to know. Useful knowledge. Knowledge of where a vast sum of money can be found, as well as knowledge about the state of power in the chapel. Also, great magical knowledge. Huh. Then we have an ideal, a bond, and a flaw or a secret. So we're going to roll... now we're going to roll 2d6 again, since we're caught up. 2 and 1. Evil, domination. Well, if we come back up here, a Humanoid Conqueror... He wants to take over. He wants to assert authority and control, and to be the one. He wants to be the Bashi. His bond is a D10. 5. Captivated by a romantic interest. And maybe, just maybe, he is willing to move on past his or her former lover. If someone could just survive his death trap, for sure, scientifically proven, he would fall in love with them. And so while he does have his old flame in his heart, pun intended, he is looking forward to meeting whoever it is that can finally survive his death trap maze. Because he or she may very well fall in love with such a clever, agile person. This stuff writes itself, people. Trust the dice. Trust the dice. It writes itself. This is a Vidalcan Dark Wolf. And his or her flaw or secret is going to be a D12. 2. Enjoys decadent pleasures. So he or she might in fact enjoy dressing up as his or her former lover. The full trappings, wig, makeup if necessary, voice. Might even enjoy... in fact, that's why the fire elementals are sculpted to look like this former lover. Maybe this villain enjoys summoning these extraplanar creatures that look like this lover and pursuing something romantic with them. See how far he can get. There's a lot that can go on here. Cheese it up. How should I pick a boyfriend? Yep, Death Maze 100%. You got it, Cheese. Rhodium is now here. And just in time, Rhody. Just in time, because I was actually going to be taking a little break here to go freshen up and get a big pitcher of water and cool off. So Rhody, we have just made 2 villains that we are going to insert into our campaign that we are going to be generating an outline for in the next segment. And we are going by the book, though we're still basing it off of the Ravnica world in MTG. As well, we made ideas ourselves regarding the characters and some of the plot elements. But we're going through the Dungeon Master's Guide, and we're following its procedures in order to generate even more thought and content about the characters who are involved, PC and NPC alike. And when I come back, we're going to tie everything together into a campagna. If we can have lasagna, we have a campagna. And see where it's going to take our 2 anti-hero characters that we generated last week. I'm kind of excited for it. I hope you all are too. So, stick around. We'll be back shortly, and we'll wrap up everything with a nice tidy bow, huh?